Title: Billionaire walked in early and saw his wife mistreating his black adoptive mother. He froze. The mansion was supposed to be quiet that afternoon. It was the kind of quiet that wrapped around the tall white walls and polished marble floors of the Bennett estate like a blanket. Perfect, controlled, expensive. Normally, Daniel Bennett didn't see the house during the day. As the CEO of a billion-dollar tech company, his life was a whirlwind of meetings, flights, and late nights. But today was different. Daniel walked through the front door hours earlier than usual. He had canceled an important meeting in Chicago after feeling strangely uneasy all morning. Something about the day felt wrong, like a quiet alarm ringing somewhere deep inside him. As the heavy oak door clicked shut behind him, Daniel loosened his tie and stepped into the foyer. That's when he heard it. A sharp voice, cold, mocking. "Didn't I tell you to clean the table properly?" Daniel stopped walking. The voice belonged to his wife, Claire, and the tone, it was one he had never heard before. He slowly moved closer to the dining room, his footsteps silent against the marble floor. What he saw next made his entire body freeze. Standing near the dining table was Lillian Carter, the woman who had raised him. The woman who had saved his life. The woman he proudly introduced to the world as his mother. But at that moment, she wasn't being treated like family. She was holding a rag in her hands, cleaning the table, like a servant, and standing across from her, arms crossed, was Claire, Daniel's elegant, perfectly dressed wife. Claire looked irritated. "No, no," she snapped. "Look at this spot. Do it again." "Honestly, Lillian, I don't understand how someone your age can be so slow." Daniel's heart dropped. Lillian lowered her head slightly. "I'm sorry," she said gently. "My hands, they aren't as strong as they used to be." Claire sighed loudly, rolling her eyes. "Well, maybe if you stopped pretending to be the lady of the house and remembered your place, things would move faster." Daniel's fingers slowly curled into fists. His mind struggled to process what he was seeing. Pretending to be the lady of the house. Remember your place. Lillian, his adoptive mother, the woman who worked 3 jobs to raise him, stood quietly, wiping the table again without arguing. She didn't look angry. She looked tired, and something in Daniel's chest cracked. For a moment, he couldn't move. Memories flooded his mind. 25 years ago, a cold winter night in Chicago. 7-year-old Daniel sitting alone on the curb outside a closed grocery store, hugging his thin jacket around himself. Hungry, scared, abandoned. His biological parents had disappeared months earlier, leaving him bouncing between shelters and temporary homes. Most people walked past him that night. But one woman stopped. Lillian Carter. She had been carrying 2 grocery bags and wearing a worn-out coat, her curly hair tied back with a scarf. She noticed the boy shivering on the sidewalk. Instead of walking away like everyone else, she knelt down. "Hey there, sweetheart," she said softly. "What are you doing out here all alone?" Daniel had tried to act tough. "I'm fine." Lillian studied him for a moment. Then she did something that changed his life forever. She held out her hand. "You don't look fine," she said gently. "Come on, let's get you warm." That night, Lillian took him to her small apartment. She made him tomato soup and grilled cheese. The kind with extra butter. Daniel still remembered how the kitchen smelled. For the first time in months, he felt safe. Weeks later, when the authorities couldn't find his parents, Lillian did something extraordinary. She adopted him. She was a single black woman working as a housekeeper and a cafeteria worker. People told her she couldn't afford to raise a child. But she did it anyway. She worked double shifts, skipped meals so Daniel could eat, stayed up late helping him with homework even when she was exhausted. Whenever Daniel felt discouraged, Lillian would smile and say the same words. "You're meant for big things, baby." And somehow, she was right. Years later, Daniel built a tech company from a tiny garage. That company became Bennett Dynamics, worth billions. And when the world asked who inspired him the most, Daniel always answered the same way. "My mother, Lillian Carter." He bought her the mansion they lived in now. He told her she would never have to work again. Ever. Yet now, she was standing there with a rag, cleaning, while Claire spoke to her like she was nothing. Daniel finally stepped forward. His voice was quiet, but it cut through the room like thunder. "What is going on here?" Claire jumped slightly. She turned around, surprised. Daniel. Her face quickly changed to a smile. Oh, you're home early. But Daniel wasn't looking at her. His eyes were locked on Lillian. She looked startled, then concerned. Danny, she said softly. She still called him that. Even now. Daniel took a slow breath. Mom, he said gently, why are you cleaning the table? Lillian hesitated. Before she could answer, Claire laughed lightly. Oh please, it's nothing. She insisted on helping around the house. Daniel's gaze shifted to his wife. And you're supervising? Claire shrugged. Well, someone has to make sure things are done properly. Silence filled the room. Daniel walked slowly toward the table. His footsteps echoed. When he reached Lillian, he gently took the rag from her hands. Her fingers were trembling. Mom, he said quietly, you don't work here. Claire scoffed. Oh come on, Daniel. Don't be dramatic. Daniel turned to her slowly. His voice remained calm, but his eyes had changed. Dramatic. Claire crossed her arms. Yes, she lives here for free. Helping around the house isn't exactly a crime. The air in the room grew heavy. Lillian quickly stepped in. It's all right, Danny, she said softly. I offered to help. Daniel looked at her. He knew that tone. She was protecting someone. She had done it his whole life. Even when people treated her unfairly. Claire sighed again. Honestly, Daniel, I think you've spoiled her a little. She acts like this place belongs to her. Daniel's jaw tightened. This house does belong to her. Claire blinked. What? Daniel spoke slowly. I bought it for her. The room went silent. Claire's expression hardened. Well, technically you bought it. And you're my husband. Daniel didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked to the kitchen sink and rinsed the rag. Then he placed it neatly on the counter. Finally, he turned around. Claire, he said calmly, how long has this been happening? Claire rolled her eyes again. Oh my God, it's not a big deal. Answer the question. His tone was firmer now. Claire hesitated. Sometimes she helps with small things. Daniel looked at Lillian. Mom. Lillian forced a gentle smile. It's nothing, baby. I like staying busy. But Daniel noticed something. Her hands. They were rough again. Calloused. The way they used to look when she worked 3 jobs. A cold realization spread through his chest. He looked back at Claire. And the gardener told me yesterday that Mom has been doing laundry too. Claire's eyes widened. Who told you that? Daniel ignored the question. Why? Claire threw her hands up. Because the house staff keeps quitting. Why? Claire hesitated again. Then she snapped. Because they're lazy. Lillian quietly stepped forward. Daniel, please. But Daniel gently raised a hand. His voice was calm. Mom, did Claire ask you to work? Lillian didn't answer. And that silence told him everything. Daniel felt something shift inside him. Not anger. Something deeper. Disappointment. He looked at Claire. I trusted you with the most important person in my life. Claire laughed nervously. You're overreacting. Daniel shook his head slowly. No. For the first time, Claire looked unsure. Daniel walked over to Lillian. He took her hands in his. They were warm, but fragile. Mom, he said softly, why didn't you tell me? Lillian smiled gently. Because I didn't want to cause problems in your marriage. Daniel felt his throat tighten. She was still protecting him. After everything, Claire suddenly spoke again. Oh please, don't act like I abused her. She just helped with chores. Daniel turned toward his wife. And what he said next made the entire room fall silent. Claire, did you ever ask yourself why I admire her so much? Claire frowned. What? Daniel's voice was steady. When I had nothing, she gave me everything. He looked at Lillian again. She didn't just adopt a poor kid. He paused. She adopted a future she believed in. Claire shifted uncomfortably. Daniel continued quietly. And today, I walked into my own house and saw the woman who built my life being treated like a maid. Claire tried to interrupt, but Daniel raised his hand again. Don't. The word was soft, but final. Lillian squeezed his hand gently. Danny, it's all right. Daniel looked at her, and suddenly smiled, but it wasn't the smile Claire expected. Because in that moment, Daniel Bennett had just made a decision. A decision that would change everything in the Bennett household. And Claire had no idea what was coming next.